Ladies and gentlemen, I am Kagekaze, and this is continued playthrough footage with the Demon Hunter. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to change up gears just a tiny bit and change the way I do this. As you've already gone through to the Skeleton King, what I'm going to be doing here is you can see I'm almost close to level here, getting close to level 11. And I'm going to pretty much record through as I gain my levels and then and of course unlock skills and runes, and what we'll do is we'll talk about them as I get them. What you may have noticed here is I've gone back to elective mode, as you can tell, as I have Impale, Rapid Fire, and Strafe on my bars now. Which of course, Impale and Rapid Fire both being secondary. I really wasn't sure what to do with this build, to be honest. Don't really have a lot of abilities. Well, I've got a few, but they don't. I don't really have a solid build in my head on what I would want to do. So I just kind of chose a few offensive ones. You know, one for groups, stun if I needed it. Although things are dying really fast because I have much better gear now. One of which is the stake thrower I got from the Skeleton King. Should be leveling here soon. Alright, here we go. Level 11. I've gained a new primary and a rune. So what I'll go ahead and do is we'll take a look at Entangling Shot. Bring up my patch notes since there was a change to Entangling Shot. Alright, Entangling Shot has been slightly nerfed here, actually. Entangling Shot does less hatred generation. As you can see here, it's 3 generation. It used to be 4. And it looks like really that's the only change that I see here to it. Other than that, an arrow's with shadowy energy that deals 75% weapon damage and entangles up to 2 enemies, slowing their movement by 60%. Actually, that seems a little less. Even though my patch notes don't say it's been nerfed in damage, I think that was 100% weapon damage before, was it not? I'll go ahead and look at that. I'll look at it between videos and I'll report back once I find out. But we'll go ahead and put that on. It's obviously not as much, but it does hit 2 enemies consistently and do slowing. So what I think I want to do is I'll go ahead and I'm going to make that my secondary. So I'm going to go back. Instead of Impale, I'll put on Entangling Shot. No runes yet, but at 18 you'll get one that allows you to hit up to 4 targets. Quite a nice upgrade there. Okay, we'll hit accept. And there we have it. And what I'll do is I think I'll keep Rapid Fire, but I want to change where it is. So I'm going to put something else here for now, because unfortunately I can't put 2 of the same ability on the bar. Like if I go in here, if I try to do Hungering Arrow, it won't let me. You can only have 1 ability on the bar. Only 1 copy of that ability. So let's go in here and let's change up Rapid Fire to Evasive Fire so that I can move it, and then 2. I am going to make that Rapid Fire. Yeah, wait for that cooldown. This cooldown, by the way, is 15 seconds. Someone did correct me on that. It was in the patch notes. I just completely missed it. And alright, our rune is for Caltrops, which, as you see here, 8 discipline, and slows enemies by 60%. We got Hook Spines now, which increases the slow amount up to 80%. So, upgrades the slow component. I'll go ahead and put it on, and we'll see how slow things move when enemies walk through it. And I'll just kind of play with it here a little bit before I stop the recording and we move on, and I will do my best to level up and provide you guys with some more footage. I've got an idea for another video that I want to do where I'll go over the skill system in detail as one single video instead of being attached to a playthrough. I'll kind of do it as a how to use elective mode thing so that other people in the beta can see it, understand it, and those who aren't in the beta can get a better idea of it. And I'll probably give my general impressions on it and things that I've seen. Since you're watching here through the Demon Hunter, I did want to show some things that have changed that of course were not in the patch notes because we have no chance of getting them anymore. Let me just pick a slot here. And I'm going to go over to Shadow here. Shadow power is at level 30 now, which I lamented over because I liked it in the last version of the beta, because it gave you about a 20% attack speed increase. Combine that with rapid fire, and I was doing a lot of damage. It no longer does that. Shadow power now, it draws in the power of shadows, granting 20% of all damage done as life for 3 seconds. So, I'm not sure. That sounds like it's going to increase it. You gain 20% of all damage on his life, or actually it's probably more drain. So it looks like you're going to hit enemies and you're going to get life back. Hard to really say. I don't want to see something real quick. Sorry about that. Details. Just wanted to see if they had something called life. So cold, fire, lightning, poison. So arcane and holy. So it looks like it's going to be more of a life drain now. So I'm not really sure how I feel about that. They probably have their reasonings behind that. I didn't really see too many other changes that I recognize. What I'll have to do is go through each ability as they existed, you know, on the talent calculator and come back. But I want everybody to know that this can change. Everything we're seeing here, the abilities and the orders we get them in can change. I'm pretty sure that it's far from final, because one thing I noticed here, I'm going to go to devices, and I want you guys to see this. Multi-shot is in devices. That really should be an archery ability. A volley of arrows doing 115, that should be archery. And as you can see here, there's no sentry. I got a little worried. I wanted to make a sentry build in the final game. Well, here's sentry. It's in archery. Considering that it's a tool that you put onto the ground, I really think that they should be swapped. They probably will be. It could just be an oversight because of the new system and their skills that we're not going to get yet, so they weren't as important to change. So I expect that to change, really. I mean, sentry, again, archery or multi-shot and sentry will probably change places. As you can see, sentry is 21, multi-shot is 22. So their levels are roughly the same. So they would replace the same slot. So you would still get grenades and spike trap, strafe and mark for death before you got either one of those. So honestly, that would be a very minor change that I could see happening. Alright, so now that I've gone over that, well, let's just go ahead and do caltrops and see how slow some things move here. As you see, I'm not playing with my Templar. I'm killing things so fast by myself that honestly, I don't need him out there killing stuff for me. I want to use my abilities rather than let him do the killing. So let's put a couple caltrops down. Look at that. Look how slow they are. 80% slow. Very nice. Okay, let's go ahead and do the entangling shot. I'll just put it out there. Looks hasn't really changed much there. Still generates hatred. There we go. Snared a couple guys together. So it is a primary ability, but obviously less damage than any other primary. I'm wondering if that should be increased again, because I'm pretty sure that was up at 100%. Granted, it does hit 2 targets pretty consistently, and it does have a snare, but Bola was increased by a massive amount of damage. Oh good, an experience shrine. And you can see there that skeleton elite, Mr. Shackle the Blasphemous, moving fairly slow, not as slow as the other guys were, but alright. That has been Entangling Shot and Caltrops with the Hookspine Rune. I'll go ahead and we'll pause it here, and I'll come back when I get close to the next level. Okay, I'm back at... looks like I'm getting pretty close to another level here, but that's really not why I started recording. I started recording because I haven't seen this encounter before. Looks like I've got Lolagor the Crazed here. I've never actually run across this event before. I seem to remember hearing about it once. I could be wrong. but I never looked it up, so I wanted to at least record it, just in case, and see what we get.
Stay back, vagabond. This tome is mine and mine alone. If you are wise, this gold will satisfy your curiosity.
3 gold? Really? Nope, still curious.
You wish to know what I've learned, how I've suffered, so be it.
Heh. Nice. Alright, I wanted to at least get that recorded. That's one of those things that, like I say, there's so many things that this random system could possibly provide us. And that's just one of them. That's just one of the few things that we could possibly get to... we don't know how rare these things are. Like, this is the first time I've seen this guy, and I've played through the beta with all 5 characters at least once. Here I'm going through again. So it's really going to be interesting to see what are those rare events that are going to be out there in Act 2, Act 3, 4. With things that only a handful of people get to see. You know, there's going to be stuff out there that... I'm sure there's going to be rumors flying and all sorts of stuff like that for, you know, what kind of new events are people going to see and speculate on. Because, you know, I'm sure there's going to be plenty of events where someone says they saw something, weren't able to get footage of it because they don't record. And we'll have to see how that spreads, because honestly, what's sitting in my mind right now, what's sitting in my mind in regards to rumors like that, is just the simple chat gem. Those of you that played D2 know what I'm talking about. You had a little gem that when you logged into Diablo 2, into the chat room, there at the bottom of the screen was a listing of all the characters that were logged on into the chat room at that time, and above that was a little gem, little purple gem, that you could click on. And when you clicked on it, it started to glow, and it would say chat gem activated. Click on it again, it becomes inert again, and it says chat gem deactivated. And people would click this thing like crazy. I'm sure Blizzard has some kind of spreadsheet, or, you know, whatever, that shows how many times this button has been clicked. And I can only imagine it must have been clicked a ton. Because there were tons of rumors out there of what this thing did. You know, people thought it controlled, like, Uber Diablo and things like that. It was... And Blizzard, of course, people would ask, what is this thing? What is this chat gem? Does it do something? Does it have a purpose? And all Blizzard would say was that the chat gem was working as intended. I don't know. I don't know about you. To me, it sounds like it's a massive troll. But hey, we took the bait, and it was fun to speculate. I honestly am convinced that all it does is turn on and off. I don't think it does anything else than that. And you think about it, even after all these years, you know, people still sometimes wonder if it controlled anything. And I don't believe they've ever said or, you know, admitted that it doesn't do anything. I wonder if there'll be a new chat gem. There was a chat gem kind of replacement on the web page, if I'm not mistaken. If you go to the official Diablo 3 web page and you dig through its information, I believe there's a gem in there somewhere that you can click and turn on and off. I believe there was at one point anyway, if it's not there now. And the first time I saw that, I laughed. Because you knew that people were going to ask about it. New people and old people alike. And that's Blizzard for you. Their sense of humor is... it's unique. And I think it's great. They like to provide those little nuggets of comedy gold, as it were. such as the Pandaren monk when he was first introduced in Warcraft 3, although that ended up becoming a full race after that. But you know, you have things like that. Alright, so we're getting close to a point where I am going to level again, so we're just going to go ahead and keep recording for now. And blessed be, I got an experience shrine. Blessed be, I have slowdown. Alright, let's get away from that area. Try and get this to clear up.
My pack is full.
I start to wonder if those slowdowns happen, because right now it's picked right back up again, happen when new assets are loaded. And I don't know if it's the way it loads it from the hard drive. I honestly may have to just get a second hard drive to record to, so while it's loading, it won't affect fraps. Alright, well, I hit the new level, and it looks like I got Chakram, which I didn't really care for in patch, 10 through 12. So let me pull up my notes while we're waiting for that to speed back up. Chakram, yes, weapon damage. So let's go ahead and pull this up. Chakram is a secondary ability, and I didn't see it, but it looks like I got a new passive. Let's go ahead and go in there. New passive is Vengeance. Was that affected as well? I've got some notes on some passives. Vengeance, yes. Okay, so Vengeance. Your maximum hatred is increased by 25. In addition, you gain 20 hatred and 2 discipline whenever you're healed by a health globe. The difference here is that Vengeance has been slightly nerfed and slightly buffed. Honestly, I think it evens out in the end. They nerfed the maximum hatred bonus from 50 to 25. But the hatred gain and the discipline gain per second after, or not per second, but gain after you gain a health globe were doubled. So you went from 10 to 20 discipline, or sorry, 10 to 20 hatred, and 1 to 2 discipline. So that's overall probably a buff, because honestly, 25 more hatred is not going to do you too much compared to the regeneration. So in the end, it evens out, but I honestly personally see it as a buff just because of that. So I won't use it. I'm going to go ahead and keep Thrill of the Hunt. And it looks like our secondary is what Chakram's going to be. So 10 hatred, fire a swirling Chakram that does 150% weapon damage as physicals to enemies along its path. So Chakram was buffed by about 11%. It was 135 and it's now 150. So it'll do more damage, which I like. It did decent damage before, but there was just something about its flight path I didn't like. I think, honestly, I don't have a lot of abilities that I'm using right now, and it's a very low hatred cost. It's only 10. Cheapest of anything I really have right now. So I'm going to try using it again, and I'm going to go ahead and spam the heck out of it and just kind of get used to it, because I think I can, with the damage increase and the fact that it doesn't cost a lot, I could get used to it and I could like it. First rune, which you won't see, is a second chakram mirrors the first. Each chakram deals 100% damage as physical. So, as you can see there, it is a buff that does give you a trade-off. Instead of one chakram at 150, you have 2 doing 100 each. So, potential for both of them to hit one target and do 200% damage, which, of course, would be a 50% weapon damage buff, but if they both don't hit, then it's slightly nerfed. So there are some trade-offs with some of these runes, and I plan on talking about that a bit later as well. Because I did feel the question in one of my comments about runes and why I felt that they were good for customization. Because when you look at some of these, they look like they might be pure upgrades, and why would you use skills that don't have runes over ones that do? It's a lot to go over, and I'll talk about. I think I'll talk about that more when I go into depth with the skill system and I make that video and talk about my impressions. So, alright, let me find, now that Chakram's back up, we're gonna go find something to hit with it. Let me just go ahead and use it. See, that's not bad. Doesn't take a lot of hatred off of me. See, that's kind of my only real problem there, is the fact that it sometimes won't hit what I want it to. So it's something you want to use kind of at a range as monsters are coming towards you, because they have a better chance while they're moving to walk into the path. Close range, it's not that great since it does go off to the side. If you're going to use it close range, you may have to be careful not to aim directly at the target you want to hit. So you might want to hold shift and then use your attack button to aim just slightly left of what it is you want to hit.
My pack is full.
Alright.
Keep your distance
What I'll do is I'll go up here and we'll do the 4 Pillars event.
You dare to bring the warmth of life into my tomb?
I need more discipline.
And I'm just going to spam that if I can. It doesn't take much to be able to get another Chakram. I mean, I'm getting 3 hatred back per arrow, and it only costs 10. You know, not to mention I have a a natural hatred regen. So it does let me spam it for a bit. I think maybe if I had tried it a little bit more in the last patch, I might have liked it. But some of the other abilities did comparable damage. Well, being a direct damage source, you know. I don't know. I do like what it can do. I still don't really like the erratic flight path, but there's definitely great potential into it, especially with how cheap it is. And honestly, with it runed, I would probably like it more, because then it would cover cover twice the area. Again, each individual one would be a little less damage, but having a wide, hit arc would make up for it. Alright, I'm going to end up killing the Skeleton King here, but I'm pretty sure I'm not going to gain a level from it. So I'm going to go back to town, and then I'll kill him. And I will probably end up restarting the game before you see footage next. So I will continue to level. Alright, I am about to hit the level cap. But before I do, I just wanted to real quick kind of show what the potential of a good offhand can do, especially now that Demon Hunter offhands grant plus damage on every one. I have here 2 really good items, fairly good, not the crafting ones, so they're not the best. But the 17.6 Archer Gore here that I got from the Skeleton King, and I got another 16.0 here Steady Hand Crossbow. Neither one of them have dexterity on them, but as you can see, this is 17.6 with 2 to 4 fire. This is 16, pretty much just an experience weapon, but they're within 1.6 DPS of each other. So as you can see here, I'm at 39.1. If I take off the offhand, I go down to 35.68. So dual wielding is a buff in this case, because they are fairly close, within 15% of each other. Alright, so what we have here though is we take this plus 2 to 4 damage, and you'll see from 39.31 I go up to 43.33. So definitely a decent, fairly substantial honestly at this level, buff to damage. So a difference of 4 DPS there, which is honestly a pretty nice buff, especially considering this is a one-handed weapon. So what this means is now that you can get the damage on the offhand a lot easier, this is going to make one-handed build with quiver, or even two-handed crossbow or bow with quiver comparable even to using two one-handed items. So you'll have to make the distinction there of, do you want to be able to fire faster? For example, if you have two weapons, then you could generate your hatred a lot easier just by spamming your abilities, or do you want to be able to hit harder per shot? So there's definitely going to be choices, interesting choices, I think, now that they've done that. I honestly think that was a great move and will help other Demon Hunter builds. Alright, once I level, there's actually going to be quite a bit I want to go over. I've double-checked the skill calculator on the Diablo 3 website. Now, granted, some of that information is old, but what I'm going to kind of show you is what has changed and what hasn't changed. Most of the abilities have stayed the same. Shadow Power, as far as I can tell, is the only one that actually had its overall mechanic changed. Instead of granting you additional attack speed and thus additional damage per second, it's now just looks like it's going to just grant lifesteal. But I'll go over that and we'll kind of see what's going on, because most of the abilities have been tweaked reasonably, and some make sense. And it's not just straight buffs, there are some slight nerfs, but when I go over them, you'll probably see why they would do that. Alright, there we go, maxed out at level 13. And of course, unfortunately, the level 13 ability is a little lackluster. It's Vault, which you got at like level 3 before. But I have a new Hungering Arrow rune as well, and a new passive. So let's go over those first, since I have patch notes in front of me. Alright, new passive of Steady Aim. As long as there are no enemies within 10 yards, all damage is increased by 20%. Now this has actually been buffed. Steady Aim has been buffed, given a 100% buff. It used to be 10%. It is now 20%. So we've gained damage in that. And so that's what I'm going to be using. So it just means when enemies get near me, I'll lose it. But I kind of like that overall. Alright, we're going to go into defensive and we're going to go into Vault. It's 10 discipline, tumble for 35 yards. That honestly hasn't changed at all. And what I may do is I may go ahead and put that on instead of caltrips, because I haven't been using caltrips, and it's just kind of nice to have. I really don't think I'll be using it too much, with especially at level cap, enemies die very quickly. But let's look at our new rune. So we have finally one ability that has more than one rune. So now this is where customization comes in and what kind of choices I'm going to have. So first, let's see, this one increases the chance for the arrow to pierce by 55. What does Cinder do? Light the arrow on fire, dealing 35% additional weapon damage as fire over 3 seconds. So, honestly, that is an interesting choice. Right now, Cinder Arrow is probably the worst choice. And I say that because, or at least right now, because everything dies so fast. Piercing Arrow is great because that 55% chance to pierce means I can tear through enemies. I've gotten 14 kill streaks with Hungering Arrow now, that things are dying pretty much in one shot because I have good weapons, and I'm level 13 now. But what's great about this is that basically you're increasing the damage. So 35 over 3 seconds, when you think about it, single target damage, if you just fire once and don't fire again, you're looking at about 150 weapon damage, so that's not bad, and it still has the chance to pierce. So you might actually have this arrow jump and set fire to several enemies. Of course, without the Piercing Arrow rune here, that chance has gone back down to 35. I'm going to go ahead and put it on, so that we can just see what it looks like. And I really miss Elemental Arrow, honestly. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to kind of go over the things that I found that have changed from the calculator, so we can kind of see what's happening here. We've already gone over those because I have them all. Just make sure here. So I'll just go down the list as I got them off the site. So I'm going to be bouncing back and forth a bit here. Grenades has been buffed, actually. This is one of the few AoEs that got a buff. It used to do 85%. It's now doing 95%. Again, keep in mind, since there are abilities that we can't reach, this is why you probably didn't see patch notes on them. And also, these are probably non-final numbers. We'll have to see. Kind of the whole reasons behind like the multi-shot. So Spike Trap, which is now not an archery, this device is right there all along. Okay, Spike Trap got changed a bit. It used to give 5 hatred, now it only gives 4. So they nerfed that a little bit. But they did buff the damage. It does 135 up from 100. So, alright, let's go, and I was talking about Elemental Arrow. One of my favorite abilities, but the truth, but also it gets even better. It was 145, now 155, so I imagine that'll still be an ability I really like. Fan of Knives has been nerfed. It was 450, is now 320. But the snare has been increased by 5%. No, actually, I'm sorry, it's the other way around. The snare looks like it's gone down. So from 65 to 60, it looks like. So this makes sense because Phantom Knives, of course, is an AoE ability. It does have a 10-second cooldown, which is why it does more than 100. I mean, you think that 320 is actually very strong, comparable to some of the single targets. But because of the cooldown, they can do that. But they did nerf it just a little bit, so it's not too good. So if we go over to archery, no, it's not archery anymore. It was devices, multi-shot. Here's another one that got nerfed. It was 140, now 115. Again, makes sense because it's a volley that goes over an area. It is an area of effect ability. This one without a cooldown, so it makes sense that it would do less than most primary attacks. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to look at Strafe as well. Okay, I'll rapid fire sharpen. Where are we? Oh, that's right, under archery. Okay, we're going to look at Strafe. This actually has been nerfed. It was 140, now 120. Again, it pretty much does AoE damage, although because of how random it is, I kind of wish they wouldn't have done that, but it still works. Now, this is an ability that got hit with a massive with the nerf hammer here, or nerf stick, or it just pretty much got bubble wrapped in nerf. This used to do 674 weapon damage over 5 seconds. It now does 91%. Now, here's the thing. There's a wording change here. The 674, it specifically said 674 over 5, which equates to about 134 weapon damage per second. So, if this wording change holds true, then the 91% may be 91% per second, because it says 91 weapon damage for 5 seconds, not over 5 seconds. So that's probably 91 per second. So honestly, that just means it's a slight nerf. It loses about 40 DPS, 40% DPS. So it's probably not as bad as it sounds. When I looked at the numbers originally, I'm sitting there thinking 674. Of course, you know, it has a 30-second cooldown, so I'm thinking, oh, well, massive burst damage. But it may still be very useful. Going over to, should be Shadow. I can't put Companion on the slot I chose. Apparently, some of the Shadow abilities they won't let you actually put on these first two. So let's just go and pick one that it will let me do. Companion has been given a buff, actually. It was 30% weapon damage, it is now 50, so you have a little pet there that is more viable. Going back to Sentry, Sentry was actually nerfed. It went from 40 weapon damage to 20, so that's bad news for me because I was looking forward to making a Sentry build. It doesn't mean that it's not going to be any more viable. And then Mark for Death was also nerfed. Went down from 20 to 15 additional damage. So I just wanted to kind of update you guys, see what they've been doing. You can see where they've been tweaking things around. And here we go. There's Hungering Arrow with the rune. It still is a black arrow, kind of like the last rune, but as you can see, it is actually on fire. Of course, we don't get to see the burning effect really because everything dies very quickly. And just for the hell of it, here's Volt. Now they did increase the pathing ability of Volt and Evasive Fire, so it should be a little more useful on different types of terrain. There you go. Alright, that has been all the abilities here, so it's nice to see that we actually get one ability that has a little bit of choice. Everything else is kind of stuck to one rune. Alright, so that's pretty much it. Hopefully you've liked this, even though it's been kind of spliced together. I'm pretty sure at this point you really don't want to see more playthrough footage, but I wanted to give you guys as much information as possible. As per usual, if you like it, please thumb it up and leave me comments and let me know what you thought about this style. I will probably do standard playthroughs with the other classes, at least up to Skeleton King the first time, and then of course go over all additional abilities at the end game once I have them. So, alright, I'll do that. I think next in line is going to be the Witch Doctor, since I got a couple requests for that. I did get one request, I believe, for the Monk, but since it looks like the Witch Doctor's winning out, but this will be your chance to kind of vote for it. If you have a particular class, leave it in the comments, guys. I'll take a look at it. We'll see who wins out on this one. Other than that, I have footage of a co-op playthrough that I've done. I'll be putting that up too as well if you guys want to see it. So, alright, I'll go ahead and end this now. I'll see you guys next time.